Welcome back to the Global Marriage Booster. Today from Israel, we have Amittai Megged, who is the head of the Family and Couples Training Program at Tel Chai Academic College in Israel. He is the author of 5 books, including Differentiation-Based Couples Therapy and his last book, which is entitled Being Worthy. Amittai has developed a method of psychotherapy entitled worthiness-based psychotherapy. In his private practice, he works exclusively with couples and with families. Amittai, thank you for joining us. What a pleasure and honor to have you with us today on our Global Summit.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me also.
Thank you. So let's jump into Corona. How has Corona affected Israeli families? You're seeing in your clinic so many different types of families and couples. How has Corona affected Israeli families?
Well, I guess like all over the world, it has affected by raising the level of anxiety. I hear from all my colleagues that we get many more clients than ever because many clients, many couples, many families need therapy now because they're enclosed in a small space with their children, and they don't have time to to go to bed by themselves because the children are there until late at night, and they even don't have time to fight without a crowd looking at them, which for me I think it's crazy. I mean, sometimes you just want to fight without anyone listening to you, and it's very difficult when the children are around. So this is a very difficult situation, and I don't think that I'm not recommending it for a long time, but there is one advantage to it, and that is the raising of anxiety. You know, in many people want usually to lower their anxiety, and also many forms of psychotherapy want to help people lower their anxiety. But I come from a different background, a different position, that I'm not talking about anxiety reduction, I'm talking about anxiety tolerance. My form of therapy is a therapy where I raise the anxiety in the room in order to help clients see that they can tolerate higher and higher levels of anxiety. And I think if we have a different perspective on this Corona lockdown and see this anxiety raises, maybe we can see that we can learn that we can tolerate higher levels of anxiety and not break. And this is actually a good lesson. This can be a good lesson if we take it in this way. And maybe like the old story with the goat in the house, when the goat goes out, we feel a little better and we are more prepared to deal with things. So that's the I don't know, the good side of the story.
Wow. Okay. Well, first of all, being in Israel and being in the Middle East, anxiety tolerance is important. So I get why you came to this. So what are some, if you could give us a little bit of, because everybody on this call, and I think everyone on this planet would love to know. So what are your tips for anxiety tolerance?
Well, for example, conflict is when couples fight and they have conflicts, this is not a bad sign. This is a sign that they are humans. This is a sign that they have needs and they have wants and they're individuals. That's a good sign. So the problem is not the couples. The problem is not that couples have conflict. The problem is usually that couples are very afraid of conflicts. And actually, the problem is that many times couples try to push the conflicts aside. But small conflicts can be pushed aside, but big conflicts cannot be pushed aside. And we know that most couples have like 3 or 4 areas that they have conflicts about. It can be about money, or about the children, or about the larger family, or about sex, of course. And we try usually to push it aside and not deal with it, but every once in a while we have to deal with it. And And actually, when we deal with conflict and we're not afraid of it, something good can happen, which is what we call, this is an opportunity to raise your level of differentiation. This is an opportunity to stand on your right and say who you are, and be authentic and be true to yourself and to your wants and to your values. In my kind of therapy, which I call worthiness and differentiation based couple therapy, the idea is that couples need to bring themselves and bring what they want and their values into their foreground, and not be afraid of a conflict. So the idea is, how can I be myself inside a relationship? We have two different kinds of needs, very important needs. We need to be in a relationship, and we need connection, and we need to be autonomous. We need to be ourselves. And for most people, it's very, very difficult to integrate those two needs. And the idea of differentiation is exactly this. The idea of differentiation how can we be ourselves and be autonomous inside a relationship? So that raises the anxiety, and we need to be prepared for this. We need to be prepared that if we stand on our own 2 feet and say what we want, that our spouse not always will like it. I mean, usually he will not like it. So it's going to raise the level of anxiety. And then we need to be able to tolerate it. And we need to be able to breathe, and we need to be able to calm ourselves down and not expect it from the other person. This is also something very important, that we are not expecting the other person to calm ourselves, because in a conflict, he's not going to be able to calm us, because he needs to calm himself now. He's not free to be there for us when we are in a conflict. So I'm actually inviting couples to not be afraid to be in a different arena where conflict is not something that we're scared of. Conflict is something that we welcome, because this is the way where we bring ourselves into the relationship.
So what you're saying is, when we have a conflict, something's going on where we're not maybe tuning into who we are or what we think. And when we say what we want to say and we present ourselves, so we're differentiating ourselves, but this would also increase the conflict.
Right.
Because now it's like, well, I'm saying my piece and you're saying your piece, and you're saying, well, that's actually a good thing, because as we experience this conflict, I hold on to myself, and if you can hold on to yourself, then we can really be in this relationship and get to know each other in a more real way.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually want to know my spouse. I want to know her. I don't want her to bring just a third of herself or just a half of herself, just the half that I like. I want her to bring her all of herself. I want
Her full self.
her full self. I want to know her. So I want her, and I want to bring my full self. And it's not always pleasant. It's not always pleasant, but it's true. It's authentic. It's authentic, and
It's real.
It's real, and that's the way we actually also create much more deeper intimacy between us, because intimacy is about bringing ourselves. If I just bring just part of it, then how can we be intimate? Intimate is about taking my metaphorical clothes off and being naked and bringing my full self there. That's intimacy. So actually, couples that are not afraid of this can have deeper and deeper levels of intimacy, and also deeper and deeper levels of conflict. It's not. I'm not suggesting something easy and fun. I'm suggesting real life, and deeper life.
Okay, so that sounds, on one hand, interesting, exciting, and also a little bit scary. And, is there a way for people to learn how to express themselves in a healthy way, maybe not all at once. I mean, do you suggest pacing? How do you suggest to do this so that people can have some degree also of security in the process?
Yeah, so the first important thing is to be able to confront yourself before you confront the other person. Actually, it's very, very easy to confront the other person, but it doesn't do anything good. I mean, we blame other people, we shout at other people, we think our spouse is the cause of all our problems. And that is not helpful. And when I'm talking about conflict, I'm not talking about allowing people to just shout at each other. I'm talking about something where you are an adult. And as an adult, you need to confront yourself first and see, am I really in a dialogue with the other person? Am I looking at the other person? Can I see the other person's needs and wants and values? Do I respect them? And do I respect my own values and the needs and wants? When I respect the other person and when I respect myself, that's a different kind of dialogue. And that's a different kind of conflict. So I want to come to this conflict in a different way. I want to come to this conflict when I really look at myself. And when I really look at myself and see my faults and see where I don't respect, when I abuse or when I manipulate the other person, and I take responsibility for it, then and only then can I demand something. Only then I have the right to demand something from the other person. Before that, I can demand, but it has no value, and I don't have a justification for it.
But
And this connects.
are you saying that a person has to be completely perfect before they ask for something from someone else?
I'm saying that you need to earn what I call worthiness before you can, before you're justified to be worthy. I mean, worthiness is something. What is worthiness? Worthiness is this permission that we give ourselves to enjoy life, to enjoy love, to enjoy money, to enjoy respect. And I'm worthy of all those things only if I see myself and see the other person. Only if I'm really in a dialogue with the other person. So
do you believe that there's any innate worthiness in a person? Like, where does the worthiness begin?
So when babies are born, they're worthy. That's innate. They are worthy, and actually they don't need to do anything in order to receive abundance and care from their parents. Not all babies receive it, but they are worthy of receiving it, of course. But as you grow older, you need to earn it. It doesn't come naturally. You need to earn it, and you need to earn it actually in two different ways. One way is to not let other people push you around, and the other way is not that you don't push other people around. So a real dialogue is really when I see the other person and I let him see myself, and I bring myself to the conflict, to the dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah,
yes.
so yeah. Okay, great. So what you're saying is we're born with innate worthiness. As we get older, our worthiness very much depends on our ability to show up and not be pushed around and bullied, so to speak, and also
The one hand.
not do that to anybody else. To be able to give people the space to be who they are and to hear who they are and accept who they are. So that's what you're saying?
Right, and another thing is to contribute. That's so important. With children, for example, we need to give our children opportunities to contribute. If we don't give them opportunities to contribute, they cannot feel worthy. And also adults, it's the same thing. If I don't contribute to my home, if I'm just like lazy and I let my wife do everything, then inside, I might feel that I deserve, and I might feel entitled for things, but I don't feel worthy. Inside, I know that I'm not worthy. Only when I contribute, when I know that I'm fair, that I'm really fair, and that I bring my effort to our joint
Relationship.
endeavor,
Mhm.
relationship, only then I know that I'm worthy of receiving something also, of being able to also demand something from my spouse.
Mhm. Okay.
Not
When you
demanding
said,
not demanding in this.
yeah, I know, because the word demand in English is definitely has a very negative connotation, like request.
No, that's not what. Maybe claim.
Okay.
I just I have justification for my claim. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Only when I contribute and when I see the other person, then I have justification for my claim.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? This is really Martin Buber. This is ideas. I'm
Right.
just translating it into couple therapy.
Right. Okay. Okay. So let me get this clear. When two people are in conflict, you help them on one hand to hold on to themselves, to be clear about what their feelings and thoughts are. And on the other hand, you also teach them how to not blame, not attack, and so just, to be both of them be present and fully present. And that means fully accepting who they are and fully accepting who the other person is. Is that right? Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
yeah, yeah. And really inside, if I want pleasure and abundance and love, I want to wish it for my spouse also. It cannot work if I don't wish it for my spouse. So I need to wish it for my spouse and myself at the same time. And I really need to work at seeing the other person and seeing where he is and letting and I need to be happy when my partner confronts me, when my partner is in conflict with me. I need to be happy that they bring themselves to the relationship, when they say who they are.
I think it'll be a lot easier for us to understand this if you can give an example. Could you do that?
Yeah, of course. So let's say that there is a couple and the wife complains about the husband that he doesn't come home. He comes home at 11 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. He doesn't want to be with her. He doesn't want to be with the kids. He doesn't have time for her. He doesn't want to listen to her. And he complains that she doesn't respect him, that she's very critical of him. Now, I mean, they can go on and fight about it and accuse each other for years, and that's what they do. But if they would come to me, I want to suggest that they look at themselves. What does it mean to look at yourself? I mean, for the wife, I ask her, for example, tell me, if he comes home at 6 o'clock like you want him to come home, what will he find? What kind of wife will he find? And she said, well, I understand what you're saying. He will find a wife that is very critical, very nagging, not a very happy wife. So I'm saying, so can you understand why he does everything in his power to stay at work until 11 and not come at 6 o'clock? She says, yeah. I even ask her, are you interesting? Yes. I mean, that's a question of, do you contribute, or you just ask for something? Do you contribute to the conversation? You want him to listen to you. Do you contribute to the conversation? And then I ask him, and it seems like this person, it feels comfortable not being at home, not taking care of his children, not being with his wife. He doesn't contribute also. So does he? Is he worthy of respect, of her respect? Is he worthy of her not being critical to him? So he needs to look at himself before he can. So, for example, about those kids. I mean, he spends maybe an hour, maybe half an hour, less than that a day with the children. And I tell him, do you feel comfortable with that? Do you want your children to grow up without really knowing you? Is that okay with you? Do you feel comfortable with it? So when a person takes responsibility for his own faults and starts to work at his own faults and before he looks at the other person, after that, after he does something with himself, then he can look at the other person and say, then he feels worthy. Then he, in a way, you can say he earned his worthiness. When you take responsibility for something, when you take responsibility for yourself and other people, when you stop manipulating, when you stop abusing, when you stop shouting, when you stop being critical, when you stop nagging, you stop those things, and you are really respectful, then you earn worthiness. And when you earn worthiness, you can also look at the other person and say, hey, you know what? I deserve that you come home before that, and we can have a good time, and we can enjoy each other. And then it becomes, it's not a demand, it's a justified claim. And when you ask for something, you request for something, that is good for both of you. You actually it's not only for you, it's not egotistical, it's we want to spend time together. And you know what, you forgot yourself in work, and when she knows that she's not nagging, then she knows that she can tell it in a way that he will have to hear her, he will have to listen. Does that make it more clear?
It's a great example. Thank you. One of the thoughts that occurs to me is, since there's no end of things that we need to work on personally, and each spouse could have a list and list and list that goes on. So at what point does a person then earn their worthiness when, let's say, she's critical, but she's also lazy and doesn't come through with certain things she said she would do. And maybe she also talks a lot about him behind his back. And it could be there's a whole list of things.
That means that we have worked for our whole life. It's a good thing. I'm serious, because I look at myself, I'm 58, and I still find many things that I need to work at. But it makes, when you work at it, it's not working on the relationship, it's working on myself in the relationship. It makes the relationship better and better all the time. It makes, and the intimacy becomes deeper, and the passion becomes deeper, and we can really have a much deeper relationship. So we have something to hope for. At 60 or 70, it can be a bit even better relationship. Most people think that, when we were 20, it was the best. No, it's the opposite. You can have it much better if you work at yourself. It can be much better when you're 60 or 70 or 80.
Okay, so what you're saying is worthiness is endless. And
yes,
the more we have innate worthiness, and the more that we take responsibility for developing ourselves and showing up as our worked on self, the more our worthiness grows. But we also have to understand that there's no end, and we're never fully there. So we're showing up with more worthiness. It's not like, well, I wasn't worthy and now I am worthy. It's, I have a certain level of worthiness and I keep developing this worthiness. So let's say I have 7 things that I need to work on, right? And I do 1. So I can show up and say, hey, even though I'm not perfect and I have other things to work on, but this is something that I've really come through on. And I'm asking you to also come through on something. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And it's not that I know all the things that I have to work at. I mean, they appear in every period. I mean, I'm working on something and I think, well, now I'm okay, I'm worthy. And then I find out that there is another one. and it's a long process. So
in other words, you find, you're doing okay with this one thing, and then you find out the other thing, and you don't drop your worthiness all the way down. You're like, oh, there's the next level of worthiness I got to get to.
Right.
It's not like, and I think that's part of the difficulty for when it comes to worthiness. We always, need to work from the ground up and to really believe that whatever we've done and whatever we've accomplished really makes us worthy, and not keep defining ourselves by, oh, if I mess that up, or if I'm not at this level, then I drop everything. Right. So you're working on this hypothesis, right? The thesis of your method is, we have worthiness and we keep building, and then we find out, oh, there's something else I need to work on. Yay, that means I'm going to have more worthiness. And and then another conflict with my spouse. Great, this is another opportunity for more worthiness. That's really what you're saying.
You put it in very good words. I like it.
I got it. Okay. So, and this is how we train ourselves to appreciate conflict, because each conflict is going to test us in a certain area. And we have to then look inside and say, okay, what do I need to work on in order for this conflict to work out? And then we can show up saying, hey, I'm working on this. Okay. And then we can ask our spouse, say, hey, this is what I'm doing. What about you?
Exactly. Exactly. And only
Okay.
then, only then. Not, it
Yeah.
doesn't work before that. Actually, inside yourself, you know that you don't deserve him changing, or his spouse changing. You know that. I mean, you shout and you feel justified and you feel entitled and you want something from the other person, but you know inside that you're not justified. You know. Only when you work on yourself, then you know, then you come to the other person and say, hey, there is something you need to work at. And the other person will listen to you because you come from a different place, from a much more worthy place.
Okay. So that sounds, I get it. This is my next question, which is popping up, which it probably will be popping up for other people. Someone comes and says, okay, so I've done this and I've done that. And yet, and it's really only a small part of what the other person really needs. Okay, let's say the husband comes and says, okay, so now I spent some extra time with the kids. It was 45 minutes here, and I came back an extra hour there. And but for his wife, it's not. It's like that's not even, that doesn't come into, that doesn't help so much. It's such a small change. And this is my question. What if the person may, let's say the guy, his wife is so critical and he doesn't, it's hard for him to, he doesn't want to see her so much because she's so critical. So she makes a colossal effort to be less critical, but it's really tiny as far as he's concerned, because he's got a different definition of what critical is or what it isn't. And his mom was always positive and always in a good mood. So it's hard for him to see her incremental growth as worthy of anything. So this is.
So who is the judge? Who is the judge?
Yes. Who's the judge? Who is the judge?
So I want to bring people to be their own judges. To look at, not, it's very easy to judge the other person. It's very easy to judge the spouse. That's what we do all the time. We need to start judging ourselves and confronting ourselves and looking at ourselves and saying, well, do I feel okay now with myself? Do I feel okay with how much I spend time with my children or with my wife? Is this what I want? And I want to tell him, no one has the ladder to judge you, and no one knows what's right. But you need to live with yourself, with your decisions, and you need to live with your choices. You are the one who's looking at the mirror, and you need to confront yourself and see if you feel okay with yourself. That's you.
Okay, but there are a lot of people who could feel okay with themselves when they're not really being okay, and
Right.
And they're not really getting the feedback or taking it in from the other person, and it's hard to see ourselves objectively. And I really like, I really agree with what you're saying in terms of theory. And just in practice, it's hard for us to see ourselves. And that's one of the difficulties, I think, in a relationship. We're so sure that we said this. We're so sure we didn't say that. We're so sure that we did this. Or, when she is making colossal efforts to be less critical, and it's really hard for her because she's always been critical for the last 39 years. And here, her colossal efforts, and she shows up and she's like, I've made these colossal efforts. And he says, but you've been critical to me like 6 out of 7 days. And she said, but you don't know what it took for me that one day not to be critical. So who is the judge? That's a difficulty.
I don't know. The example you gave is problematic. I mean, you're saying 6 days she was critical, and one day she wasn't.
I'm just saying, like she made this.
Is it really a colossal effort that she made?
Well, I mean, I could think of people who are naturally critical or naturally forgetful or naturally messy, or I mean, we all have some of this. Naturally have a temper. Whatever it is that we naturally do, we do need to make colossal efforts to change in that area, especially in the area that we were a little blind in. So
The question is not, did he see it already? Didn't he see it already? That's not the question. The question, did you see it? Did you see it?
So okay,
I mean,
so let's say I'm the woman who's working on being less critical. I made colossal efforts to be less critical. Okay. And I show up and I say, okay, listen, I did it. Like you don't know, I'm working like 5 reminders a day, and I'm writing in my journal, and I'm doing these deep breathing exercises, and and I really, wow, I feel so worthy and so good about what I've done. And now I'm asking you to spend more time with the kids, because, you spent an extra 15 minutes there, and one day you came home early. So what about that?
No, that's not what you do. You don't ask him to spend more time with the kids, because you cannot control the other person. He's not, we only control ourselves. You can say, you know what? I feel that I deserve now that you will want to spend time with me. And I hope you can notice it, because I notice it. That's the way it works. You don't tell the other person what to do, and you don't come with complaints to the other person, and you're not critical, and you're not working with him. You're not working with yourself. You're telling you, and when you're working with yourself, then you feel like, for example, I'll say a story about myself. I was my wife started studying social work, and she had so many papers to present and exams, and she was working hours and hours, and I was helping her quite a lot. I was helping because I'm a social worker also, and after a few months where she was working so much, I wanted to go abroad. Pre-corona time, before corona, I wanted to go abroad, and she said, "Are you crazy? I don't have time for this." And I felt, she's not fair to me. She's not fair. I was working so much, and what about us? And what about the relationship? And we need to have some time, spend some time together. And I felt that she was. I felt very, very bad. And I was, for a few days, being with a sad face. And then after a few days, I asked myself, do you feel worthy? What about yourself? Did you contribute? And I said, yes, actually I did contribute. I was helping her quite a lot. And I said, and is this egotistical for you to want to go abroad? And I said, no, it is, but it's also good for her, because if she goes to 1 week abroad, then she clears her mind. And I know that she will do her papers better if she clears her mind also. I know she. So when I came back to her, I didn't come with the same, in the same attitude. I came with, you deserve it. You deserve a vacation. I deserve a vacation. And our relationship deserve a vacation. They did some watering. And it sounded different. And when I said it this way, she said, okay, let's go to a vacation. Find tickets. So it's not demanding something from her. It's coming from a different place. Is that clear what I'm saying?
It's more clear. Okay, so you were saying, because you helped her, you were able to say, you didn't say, listen, I helped you, but you came from that place of worthiness, like, wait a minute, I just did this big thing for her, and also this I think this could be good for her.
Right.
And so you came with that presence of worthiness, and you didn't tell her she has to go with you, and you didn't tell her, listen, you deserve to go away, as a manipulation to get her to do something you wanted. You really were authentic about it, and you were also open to her being able to say, well, I do deserve to go away, but I don't want to go now, or I can't go now.
Exactly.
And what would have happened if she said, thank you for the offer, but I don't want to go?
I guess I would go by myself or with a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I would be disappointed, but I don't have a right to know what's good for her. And I have ideas, but I don't control her. This is her life, and I have to respect it. I have to respect it. So I can respect myself and say, okay, then I will go, because
Okay.
I really need the vacation. I really feel that I need the vacation. I wish you would come with me. I really would love it. I think it will be great for us. But I respect that if you're very anxious about the papers, maybe you need to stay. I don't know.
Okay, great. So then let's go back to the worthiness and the conflict. So you are saying, I'm worthy. I helped her. I can ask for something. She's saying, I'm worthy. I've done a lot for you also, and I appreciate the request, but I'm not going to be able to go now. And so you have this conflict, and it's a difficult thing because neither of you got, well, you didn't get what you want. She didn't go with you. In a sense, she got your help, but she's not going. But you accept the conflict. The conflict is okay. Then you work, and probably you come back to your own worthiness and say, okay, I'm a whole person. I don't have to feel bad because she's not coming with me, and then you take responsibility for how you deal with her answer.
Right, exactly. And this is just a small thing about going abroad. It can be about very much bigger things, about moving to a different house, moving to a different country, having a baby or not having a baby, many things.
Got it. Okay, so this is really great. So really what you're saying again is, in order to handle conflict, what we need to be able to do is to go inside, to check our worthiness, to build, in a sense, on what we need to work on, the area that's coming up for us to work on, and then to show up, and without expecting the other person to do anything, to just know, like, I'm showing up, I'm making tremendous efforts, I'm showing up as my best person, and my worthiness allows me to ask you to do something, but it also allows me to hold on to myself if you say no.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Right. And so how do you help couples work on this worthiness? Like, do you give them exercises? Do you have a method?
I confront them with difficult
This is
questions.
so Israeli. Okay. You, all right. You confront them.
I ask the difficult questions. That's I mean, my book, for example, Being Worthy, it is filled with difficult questions. When people read it, they have to confront themselves. I mean, we are grown up. I mean, we are adults. We are not children. I don't think that relationship, and I don't think that therapy is about petting the other person. I think being in a long-term relationship doesn't. You don't need to remember your inner child. You need to remember your inner adult. This is something that many people forget, to respect their and connect to their inner adult, the one that can confront himself, the one that can that takes responsibility, the one that knows that choices have consequences. That's the inner adult. The one that knows how to calm and soothe himself.
Right. The
These
wounded
are adult
child.
qualities.
Right. And Terry Real talks the wounded child and the functional adult self. Right. We need to be in touch with both. And yeah, that's a great point. That is so. So the worthiness comes from being in touch with our adult self.
Yeah. Because only two adults can survive this. This is, I mean, relationship and long-term relationship is difficult. It's very difficult for everyone. It doesn't. This is something that we need to normalize and understand that this is normal. It's normal that we'll have difficulties. If people come to me and they don't have difficulties, this is strange. I mean, if you live with a person for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you will have difficulties in all areas of your life. This is normal. But in order to survive it, we need two adults, or two people who are connected to their inner adult.
Right. Right. I mean, a relationship is what takes us to our full development. Without this and without this kind of conflict, so life is easier in that sense, but we're not really seeing ourselves. We're not facing ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it has rewards. Looking at yourself and confronting yourself is not easy, but it has many, many rewards.
Yeah. And let's talk about the rewards.
The rewards are deeper passion and deeper intimacy.
Yeah.
deeper, deeper connection,
Hmm.
deeper, really, really meeting the other person and being able to, show my weaknesses and my success to the other person, really showing up and really knowing the other person. So he knows me and I know her. So so growing up becomes like a journey that we both grow up and and we get to know each other in a deeper level and a deeper level and a deeper level. And
Hmm. Yeah. That's a
I think,
lifetime. That is a
yeah,
lifetime.
yeah.
Beautiful. Amittai, can you give our couples an exercise maybe to do something they can do either right now or at home?
One exercise that I learned from David Snarsh, which is one of my teachers, is he calls it hugging till relaxed. I like this exercise very much. And in this exercise, you hug each other for 10 minutes, 10 full minutes, but you don't hug, but you don't hug in a different way. You hug and you feel yourself first. You soothe yourself, you relax yourself. While you hug, you feel your center, you feel your spine, you feel your legs on the ground, you breathe, and you watch yourself, you watch your thoughts, you watch your feelings, you watch your sensations, and slowly, slowly you connect to yourself first. It's not about hugging and being dependent on the other person or him being dependent on us. It's about learning to hug while both of us have spines. Both of us are in our center. So
Hmm.
we need to actually be able to soothe ourselves and calm ourselves first, and only then can we have connection with the other person. So it's a really a nice way to experience what I'm talking about differentiation, about worthiness, because you're in a connection and you're in a hug, but you listen to yourself and you take responsibility for your own relaxation, and only
Hmm.
then you connect with the other person.
Hmm. So if it's a 10-minute hug, so would you say like the first 5 minutes you're focused on centering yourself and differentiating in that
Right.
sense? And then do you switch into connection?
Yeah, it comes out naturally after you really take time. It can take more than five. It can take 7 or 8 minutes that you really become very relaxed and very centered. Then naturally you start paying attention to the well, I'm hugging, actually there is a spouse here. Here is my spouse, and you start feeling him, and it comes from a different place, not from a dependent place, but from a centered place. This
Mm,
hug.
nice. Okay, great. Hugging till relaxed. Excellent.
Right.
Okay, great. Do you have any other words of wisdom, any advice for our couples before we say goodbye to give them hope during these difficult times?
So maybe we can come back to what I started saying, that this tension and this anxiety is very, very, very difficult, but maybe we can use it. Maybe we can use it. Maybe we can use this anxiety to grow and to learn to tolerate it. And that's a good thing, to learn to tolerate anxiety.
Excellent. Okay, so how can people find out more about you, about the kind of work that you do? Do you have your books are in Hebrew? Do you have anything in English?
Well, my book Big Worthy is gonna go out, I hope, soon, in English. And I have this new website, and I have a YouTube channel. Look for Amittai Megged at YouTube, and we are putting more and more. Now there are two videos there, but there will be much more in English, um, and a new website that is coming up, which is called Worthiness-Based Psychotherapy, and look for it. And Amittai Megged.
Great. Okay. We'll have this for everyone to see. And I just want to thank you for sharing your deep thoughts, your deep process. It's rich, it's deep, and we just got a little glimpse. So I hope that many of our listeners will be able to find you in English when it's out, and anyone who speaks Hebrew can find you now. And I just want to thank you again for joining our summit.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.